Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Impact Podcast and Happy New Year. We do not want to forget to say Happy New Year. We have made it into another year. I don't know about you, but I'm grateful. So, again, welcome. We have with us today, I'm Aaliyah Johnson Roberts, and then we do have Damaris here. So I'll pass it off to her.
Hi, everyone. This is Damaris Alvarado Rodriguez, and Happy New Year.
And our friend Obiama Martin is in Dubai, so I'm sure at this point she is not able to connect, but we send her love. Soon I'll probably be logging in from Dubai myself because that is a dream place for me for 2023.
Well,
but
you ain't leaving me, and we'll be logging in from
I know
Dubai.
that's right.
so we're going to have a Dubai session at some point in 2023. That's all. That's
Yeah.
all we'll do.
But let me just say this: we should. I mean, if we're going to Dubai, we have to come to Puerto Rico too, because
Yes.
that's where I'm at. I'm actually in Puerto Rico,
Hell
and that's why
yes.
my internet is so crazy because it's raining like crazy over here. But we should have a session in Puerto Rico too. What's up with that?
Yes.
So,
It ain't
so,
that
so
far.
first, I love that, right? Because what I like about it, first of all, the virtual world has allowed us to do this very thing. We
Yes.
still record the podcast and we still show up, even if we are all over the world. So, yes, I've been to Puerto Rico once, and I would love to go again. And it sounds like that would be an easy trip to take, right
Yes.
along with
Yes.
you, Damaris. You could show us the ins and
Absolutely.
outs.
All the time, wherever you want to go. I have a house out here. So this is like my second home, and I love traveling. My husband gifted me. I was really excited actually during the holiday break, the winter break. All of my kids came to Puerto Rico with me with my grandchildren.
Oh,
So it's the first
yay.
time in over 5 years that we were able to actually all travel together. And then my husband, after that, my husband looked at me and said, I think you need a gift of time. I think you need some more additional time to yourself. You need like a mental health moment. And I just kissed them and drove them so fast to that airport.
Goodbye.
I was like, bye, as the way out. I was like, bye, I love you. I'm going to miss your faces. And I just broke out. I was so happy. So I had an additional 5 days to myself,
Yes.
just really planning, doing some strategic planning, some fixing things, and just really like, having that, taking advantage of that time. Yeah. So I'll be home tomorrow. But
That
Aaliyah,
is
anytime you want to come, Isis, anytime you want to come, you
Oh
guys
yeah,
are more than welcome to
we
just hop
there.
on a plane with me.
I am not the one to send an invitation to because
Girl, tell you. Let's
It
okay,
do
sounds
it.
like our family trip. Yes.
sounds like it.
And,
Yes.
Sounds like it. All right.
honestly, I'm just going to say this. You don't need me to come here. I have a binder here that tells you exactly where to go. So whenever you guys are ready to come to Puerto Rico, you just be like, all right, look, we're going to do this quick trip. Is it open this week or whatever? Just give me a holler.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
There we go. Noted. Noted. Thank you. And thank
Sure.
you for the invitation. Before
Yes.
we go any further, I do have to introduce our other guest here. So I did share that today we are going to be talking about generational leadership. So Damaris and I have on the podcast our next generation leaders, our daughters, Isis Clark and Samantha Rodriguez. So I'll pass it off to you ladies to let you introduce yourselves. But as you're introducing yourself, tell us a little bit about you and how you got here.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Isis Clark. Um it started, I was working first at Pratt Street as the assistant teacher years ago. I think that was maybe like 2016, sophomore year. It went into I was going to college. So up until graduation, the senior year in 2019, I left and then started as my mom admin assistant last July. Um, not last July, 2021 July. And then mid last year, I became her executive assistant, came back home, and now I'm the assistant director of Bustleton Learning Center. So that's how I got here. Just, starting from a smaller position part time and just building my way up from there.
Welcome, welcome. And we'll talk more about that process as well. But hi, Samantha.
Hi everyone. I just don't know where to begin because it's like a lot. Um,
Let's
I
hear it.
guess I will start since I was like 12. My mom decided to open a family childcare in our house, so I was kind of like forced to help her. So I was probably like the only 12-year-old who had a job at the time, but I was okay because I was saving all my money under the mattress, and I
Mm-hmm.
was doing really good with it for a while until I got older. But once I got, so I, I was with her throughout high school, supporting her with aftercare and stuff like that. And then when I left to college, I went to go do forensic science. That was my passion at the time. Like I really wanted to do crime scene investigation or psychological criminal profiling, things like that. And I went to college for my first semester and realized science isn't my strongest subject at all. And when I returned, my mom convinced me to go to community college for early childhood education because at the time they were giving out the tuition, what's it called, the Teach program that's supported with the. Oh, I didn't know they have the little things at the bottom. That's cool. I
Mm-hmm. It
was
is.
distracted. Thank you. I went to CCP and I changed my major to early childhood just so that I can get some free college credits. And then I just ended up falling in love with teaching. I taught in infants for a while. I was also freshman year to sophomore year of college. I was the infant toddler assistant director. And then I ended up being a toddler teacher for a very long time. I decided to branch off from my mom and went to another organization just so I can learn from other people and worked at somewhere else for a year. And then I returned back as a preschool teacher for the first year. And I worked as a preschool teacher for 3 to 4 years. And then I became a director unexpectedly. But I was kind of still doing it as I was teaching. I just didn't know I was doing it at the same time. But this is my third year directing at Children's Playhouse, and I'm very grateful for everything that she's pushed me through.
Ooh, I love it. You said something that I definitely want to hear more about. You went to another organization, another childcare organization.
Yes, I went to two actually, because at the time my mom moved to Delaware and I moved with her. So I thought it would be easier to work somewhere in Delaware for the commute back and forth. And I literally worked there for 2 weeks and I was like,
Mm.
no, no.
So that's what I wanted to talk about because I think I know I've had this conversation with other people. This idea that sometimes we feel like whether it's family, our children, or people who may get comfortable working in an organization, and this can be in any business, but I definitely wanted to kind of get your insight about working for your mom and then going to another organization. What were some of the takeaways that you had? Was it kind of like the grass was greener, or you thought it was and you got there and it wasn't? So, what was that experience like going to another organization?
So the first time I left was the Delaware experience. I was really like excited because I had like all these credentials, my first interview ever. So I was like so excited to do this because I've never done an interview before. And once I got in, the first week was fine. I got to like know like because they did like a high school type of thing. It wasn't like through the curriculum. So I wasn't familiar with the curriculum at all. But then it started like the organization when it came to the director, like the leadership wasn't as good as I thought it would be. Like it was just a weird vibe once I got there. And then after it was just like so many incidents that happened. And I had transferred my daughter to that school too. And even with the teachers with my own daughter at the time, she was an infant. And I just removed her. I was like, nope, we're leaving. And these are my last days. I can't do this.
Wow.
And then the other organization, this time I decided to leave my daughter with my mom. I didn't take her with me because I said I learned from the first time. I'm not taking her again. I don't want to keep doing that to her either. So I left her there, but I did work at another organization. I'm not going to name names, for about a year. And the experience there was really different because at that time I was, I lacked a lot of patience with other adults, coworkers. So it was a lot of like clashing and arguing. I've gotten written up a couple times too. So it was like different because I was being held more accountable for my own actions. Not saying that my mom didn't hold me accountable, but it was like a different experience because I was like, oh, like I did this wrong. And then every time I did something, I called my mom, like, Mom, they did this to me. Like she was gonna come in to help me or something. But she was just like, go back in there and go work and do what you gotta do. And I said, okay. And then finally, when it became too much at the end, that's when my mom offered me my job back at her center.
I love
So
it.
let me just I need to chime in here because it's interesting to hear. And I'm sorry guys, I turned off my camera because the bandwidth is really bad and whatever. But at least you guys can hear me. Um,
Yes.
so prior to Samantha moving on, venturing on her own, I said to her, "I love you, but you gotta go."
She did. She gave me
Okay,
a farewell party.
I did. I said, you need to branch out. You need to learn, and it was my way of letting her go because I knew she was going to come back home, and it was me putting to test whether or not you're doing this because you really want to do this, or
Mhm.
you're doing this because it's because your mom is making you do this. That's one of the things. Number two, it's really difficult, for those of you guys that have children working for you. Some of those times they become really self-entitled, which Samantha was really young and she
Mhm.
felt as though rules didn't apply to her, right? So she wasn't fully invested in the mission and the vision of that program because she was still young, right? It was her first job. It was her only job. So I contacted one of a provider I knew, and I said, "Hey, are you hiring?" So when she said yes, who is it? And I explained to her it was my daughter. And she said, "Are you kidding me?" And I was like, "No, I'm not. You can have her, if you're willing to interview her, I'm willing to." And then this particular director asked me why. So I explained why. I said, I need her to grow. I need her to really understand. I need her to see that the grass it may be greener on the other side. She may grab things from your organization that she will bring back one day to mine, right? So having her grow when she did call me, throughout those times that she was having difficult times, like really connecting, or she got written up or anything. I'm like, "Hey, did you do it? I mean, did you do this?" She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, then you're going to have to just suffer the consequences." So and I knew that eventually when it got to a point where she was just so unhappy, I said, "Are you ready to come back home?"
Mm.
Right? "Are you ready to come back home?" And she said, "Yes, I'm ready to come back home." And it was a different child that I received back, right?
Mm.
From then she went straight into hitting those books, hitting, really looking at, today she has a master's in leadership, a bachelor's in early childhood education, so she went straight to really understanding what the vision of the program and the growth that I was, the mission, and the vision of growing the programs and really being professional and separating that I am your mom. I'm going to love you to the day I die. However, I'm going to hold you accountable just like everyone else because if I'm paying you,
Right.
right, you're still my staff member. And
Mm.
I'm going to be a little harsher on you. Why? Because eventually you're going to be my successor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
And
Growth,
for the
maturity,
longest
and accountability.
And for
Yes.
the longest time, I was like, no, I don't want to be your successor. I don't want to do this. I'm not ready. But now
Yeah.
that I'm in this position and I'm learning what I'm learning, I feel much more confident doing what I'm doing my job now. Like, I feel more confident managing a facility of 23 people, like staff members, and 150 kids in the center. Like, that's a lot for a first time director who's never
Mm-hmm.
managed a center ever.
That's a
Yeah.
lot for any direct. It's
Any
a lot.
direct.
It's
It,
hard.
Yeah, in the middle of a pandemic at that too.
Yeah.
that's
And
and
each day is a
so
each day is a growing circle, because my centers are very unique, right? We have every funding stream available out there. So really learning, like, that crash course is saying, okay, now you have to learn how to, navigate PHL pre-K counts,
Right.
Head Start. You got to do the school district. You got to do
Yeah.
this. You got to do ITCS, the infant contractor. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do all of this together. And she's still learning, right? She's definitely still learning. But it was kind of crazy, definitely through the COVID times. I'm like, hey, you're directed today.
I was like, yay.
something that you said was really key, and I thought about the process that I went through, and then I was mindful about it with ISIS. Was so I also grew up in childcare. My home was a childcare program since I can remember, since I was a little girl, and I always staff who work with us now, who worked for my mom then, still laugh like you never wanted any part of this business, and they knew I didn't. Like, it was not for me. I had no desire. My mom didn't pressure me, and I was mindful of not doing the same for ISIS. Like, I didn't want it to be to where as though you have to do this, because my journey isn't her journey. My journey wasn't my mom's journey, right? We all have, and like Damara said, I want it to be about passion and not because you feel like it's something you have to do,
Mhm.
because come into this industry just doing the job. You have to have a passion for it and a desire. So when you said that, I think each of these journeys are so unique, but that was one thing that I think is really important for all of us as business owners and leaders who want to pass it on to our next generation. It has to be something that's organic. I was shocked when ISIS, wanted to, when you're younger, a lot of times having that job as a teen, it's kind of this leg up, like, I know that I could always have a job. So I didn't necessarily count that, because I worked in the center in the summer as well. It was like, that's my summer job. But when I go for my career, it's going to be something else. So what was that moment for you guys that really, and maybe Sam, you spoke to it, but Isis, if you want to share that moment where you had a different feeling about being a part of the business. What was that moment for you?
When I was recruited to the leadership team, that's how I knew how deep it got. I feel like, when we talk about all the time in our meetings, people don't understand our vision. People don't know, like, where we go. When we're in those level 10 meetings, 8 hours a day, and we're sitting here talking about, okay, this is our 10-year vision. If you really love, like, what's going on, and you really see it, like, it's mind blowing. So that's kind of where it was kind of like, excuse me, like, oh yeah, this might be for me, because everybody was on the same page in the leadership meeting, and we all were just like, okay, this is where we're trying to, this is the Leah's vision. That's what we're going to do. We're going to jump on that, and we'll continue to do so in the next couple of years, even though we know we're about to phase you out of our, accountability chart. Like, it's like, okay, this is, Aaliyah's and Linda's vision. Like, this is what we have to do. Like, seeing it from people that's not even family, like, it's always the best, to see, like, this, everybody sees where we're going. So, like, once I was recruited into the leadership team, I knew everybody on the team was on it. I just knew that I needed to see how everybody else in the rest of the center was going to move. If everybody else in the city is looking for this 10-year vision as well, then we're all on board. So that's how I knew, like, okay, this is where I want to be. But I don't know, when it came to assistant director position, I don't know what it was. It's funny because I told somebody else months before the last person left, like, if you could get yourself together, that could be your job. I swear, I told somebody else that. I said, if you could get your customer service skills together, and like your emotions and everything together, that could be your job. Like you literally could take the job.
You have to have your emotions together, right?
Like I was like, the job is for you. But then when I saw that email, I was like, oh yeah, I'm taking that job. That's my job. I,
So for
yeah.
those of you who do not know, and that's what I was saying at the beginning, we'll talk a little bit about that journey. I did this kind of, I don't know, unconventional thing where I knew that I needed some support that didn't have to take place in the program. So Isis was living in Miami, and she was already helping me do some things. Like, for example, I wanted to do, more social media stuff. I needed help with, for the school district, we have to do a lot of this paperwork and organization and all of that. So I was like, well, she could be my virtual assistant. I trusted her. All of those things that you would look for in like a virtual assistant, right? Trust. She was getting the job done quickly. She understood it. We could jump on a Zoom. I could tell you what I needed done, send you the information. I connected her as like an authorized user on accounts, and she became my virtual assistant. I didn't know though that I really was teaching her the inside of the business. I didn't think it would go any further. I just really needed her for that, and it worked so well because now I didn't have to worry about. I can't say they're smaller tasks because they're major tasks, but I didn't have the time nor the capacity to do those things anymore because I wanted to focus on other tasks. So it just worked. So when she would come in town, because at that point we decided she would come once a month, she would come in the building and she would help me get my office together. We would have a whole task list. She would come like 3 days. And, at that point, looking back, it really was grooming her to come into the business. But that was not the plan. It was just, it's working. It's
Yeah.
working. It's working. So, I think that also speaks to that conversation about having difficulty recruiting. Like sometimes we really have to get creative about, I always talk about truly define what it is that you need because it may not be conventional. It may not be us putting this ad on Indeed and finding this person that way. Sometimes if what you need doesn't require someone to be in the building or it doesn't require them to have 40 hours per week, then just start with defining what it is that you need and then kind of look for, think about the people already in your life. And I'm not saying it has to be family. We know that it's tricky, but it could be someone that is really detail oriented and maybe, they have some extra time on their hand and they also need some additional work because for ISIS, I think that worked for you. Like you had time and it was like, well, I need time. Let's match it. So sometimes you just have to identify the need, identify the gap, and then think about the characteristics that you need and fill it with that person, and you never know where that evolves. So that's kind of how that works.
I totally agree with you, Aaliyah. I already we spoke a little bit the other day. I was happy to start off this new year with a new virtual assistant, and
Yes.
I'm really excited about it because I need time, right? I
Yes.
need time, and I need to grow people. And she was very happy to be able to work with me. It's under the nonprofit, but she loves the work and she believes in the work of the nonprofit, right? And she's like, she's been volunteering behind the scenes. And I said to her, listen, you can't volunteer anymore. You're not a volunteer right now. You're doing a lot of work and I
Yeah.
need you to get paid for this work. So why not become my virtual assistant? So it worked out. She's like, it's
Mm.
great. She has kids. She could stay home with her kids part
Right.
time and still do what she's passionate about. Um, I'm going to tell you a little story. I have four daughters, and I have a 22-year-old that has nothing. She hates the job. She works with me, but it's not something. I already know it's not in her passion. I know that childcare is not something that she's very passionate about, and I respect it. Right. My 15-year-old, my 16-year-old now, she told me the other day, um, when you pass, who's going to be in charge of the childcare businesses? And I said, well, Samantha would be, in charge of however it's set up, for you guys to all. And she said, well, I'm sitting on that board.
Oh, okay. So
Yes, ma'am.
I'm
yeah.
sitting on that board, right? So I said to her, you want in? And this was when she was about 14, guys. All right. And I said, you want in? You want some decision making? She's like, yeah. So you better go to school, learn the business,
Yes.
and then you can have a say so. And she said, all right, bet. Then my little one came. I have a 10-year-old, she's 11. She's real sassy and said, wait, wait, wait. You ain't making decisions without me. And I said, you could all be on the board. You could all be on the board. You could all be governing. But you see, your sister worked to where she's at.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to do the same thing. And so, I have an older successor, but I also have other children that are looking in and saying, nah, I don't want that. Okay, yes, I want in. I'm interested. You know what I mean? And that might change, and I'll respect that change. But, I'm definitely telling them a little bit about business. And you don't have to do childcare. You don't have to, go in a classroom. But if maybe perhaps a business tactic, do you want to learn about the business side of it? Do you want to learn about the marketing side of it? Do you want to learn about the special activities side of it? So things like that really look thinking out the box of what other people can really contribute to your organization is a key finding too.
Absolutely. I agree. Before I go to this next question, that's exactly how my mom and I partnered, right? She is all things classroom. She doesn't want to touch paperwork. She doesn't want anything to do with the business side. But for me, right, I think that's where the perfect marriage came. The collaboration is that, when you can put together all of these skills and these strengths, then that's where it happens. Again, it doesn't have to be this one track, meaning that you have to start in this particular class. You have to start in infant, then toddler, then preschool, school. Right? It doesn't have to be. We just really have to fill the gaps where it's most effective to make the business what it is that we want it to be. So that's absolutely key. So I wanted to ask this question, and I want you ladies to be honest because, right, coming in, first of all, you guys are from a different generation. We're the moms, we kind of have been in the business. But if you could say what, you see something that we have done or that we're doing that you wish we would stop, what would it be?
Oh, that's a great question.
You give it to come on.
Because I've been telling her this whole time, like since I started being in leadership with her. Sometimes she's a little too harsh.
Not embarrassed.
Yeah.
No, not
And
fired.
I have to tell her, like, all right, but think about it this way. Like, I'm like the more like not passive, but I'm more like I think logically. And she's like, no, right now. And I'm like, well, if we do this, we won't we need a plan. Like we can't just do that.
She's just like, no, do it, and we figure it out after.
That's the war in me. That's the
Oh,
war
yes,
in me.
war. I said,
Yes.
yes, war.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm like, well,
I
we need to
love that.
come up with a plan first. Like we can't just do what no.
Well,
Yeah.
it's funny. We just recently we just had this conversation, and Samantha, we required 6 trainings from our, or I think it was 5 trainings over the holiday break, right? And it made up for one of the days. And Samantha came back. I do HR, so I'm like, hey, did your girls, did your people do their trainings? And she's like, well, no, this person, and this person didn't. So Samantha, she tries to really cover up for the team, right? And I'm like, okay, listen, I'm
Because
about
I
to hit
love them.
payroll, and if they don't have this training within the next 20 minutes, they not getting paid. Point blank, period. That part. And she's like, but wait, but let me show you. No, Sam, you don't need to show me anything. The only thing I'm looking at is, and I do that because there's a balance.
Mhm.
There's accountability here. We want to be able to, and Aaliyah, you was at one of our holiday parties, so we do things as owners and as executive directors, CEOs, that we want to really connect our teachers, our staff. We want to celebrate them. We want to, if it was up to me, my team would be making more than school district, not up to school district, more
Right.
than what the school district, because we do so much work. What our work is very important, right, for our future leaders, our future children, our and everything. We do so much more than childcare, right? And there's times where we, as executive directors, have to kind of go back to our directors and say, okay, you're holding their hands, but you asked them to do this and they didn't do it. So here's the repercussion. So you got 20 minutes to figure this out. That's how I lead, right? So you wanna hold them, that's fine. You want to cover for them, you better figure this out in 20 minutes, or if not, I'm pushing payroll.
And then once it comes to that point, I'll be like, listen, it's out of my hands. I don't know what to tell you. You better get it
You better jump on it.
Yep.
out of
If,
my
and,
hands.
and
They are
that is the
powerful moments, though,
beauty.
because it wouldn't happen again. It
It
Nope,
wouldn't
won't.
happen again.
it won't.
It won't, and I have to really, I've been there, I've done that. There is not one excuse I haven't heard in the past 20 years. There is not one problem I haven't heard of in the past 20 years. You know, um, there's not one, "Oh, I'm feeling sick, that in the past 20 years, meanwhile, they're turning up on TikTok. Like, come on. So, it's really, really, quite honestly, and I laugh
Mhm.
at it because they're new leaders, new directors, they're just hearing the stories. They're really falling in love with the stories. And I want them to be passionate. I want them to be compassionate leaders as well. However, I have to kind of like draw that back in, like,
Yeah.
okay, well, you still have a responsibility to the organization, to me,
Yeah.
their HR, and your devotion, to the program, and making sure that everybody's holding, um,
People
that is,
accountable.
we're
Right.
holding them accountable for
Yes.
what is expected of them. We gave them 5 trainings. They were 2-hour trainings apiece, which was like better kid care trainings too, guys. We all know that better kid care is all you have to do is go in, click, 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 and keep it pushing, right? So it's not like
Yeah.
I gave them a hard task to do, and that was for 8 days of holiday pay.
No, they should have been did that.
That part,
They
right?
should have been
So,
did that.
so
Yeah.
I asked her, like,
Yeah.
Sam, when was the due
Mm-mm.
date? And she was like, well, it was yesterday. Um,
Yeah. I
and I'm
said
like, and we're still
nope.
talking about this today? I was like,
Mm-mm.
um, yeah, so that's when the war comes in. That's really when the war comes in, when I
Mhm.
just get,
But you'll be proud of me today because I don't know. I guess I was just like, you know what? I'm not doing it no more.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bec- because I sent one of the staff members yesterday to go come in to be able to come in late to go get her FBI clearance done because I still haven't received it. So she emails me today and she was like, "Hey, are you guys paying me the 8 hours to compensate my hours?" And I said, "No."
8 hours.
because the clearance is required for your employment. Yes.
Right.
Right.
So she gave me a hard time. So finally, I shut down and I said to her, I said, technically, you're not even supposed to be here without it. That's number one. I allowed you to be here. Number
Mm,
two, number two, would you rather miss 2 hours of your pay rather than you not have a job at all?
exactly.
Which one you want?
But it don't even take that long to get the FBI.
so
Well,
no, it was,
they have been playing. They've been
she,
playing. The FBI has been playing because I did mine in July and I got mine in November.
No, no.
yeah.
I
In
mean, like
regards to
getting
like
the
going,
fingerprints.
Oh yeah,
right?
I
yeah,
was in there 10 to 15 minutes,
yeah. You
maybe.
just go fingerprint and out.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was playing.
She was.
So again, there are certain things that we do
Yeah.
as parents. I try to lead back and try to, wait as a mom, right? In this position. Annalie, I'm pretty sure that you can definitely relate to this and kind of see, um, but letting my daughter lead is really important for me because everybody has different leadership styles, right? She's compassionate, you know, she likes to joke around with the staff. She likes to, you know, create bonds, right? She likes to help. She's very supportive. So I see that in her. You know, she has a lot of great qualities, and that I enjoy, right? Seeing her as a leader. Um, but then I'm like, okay, that it's too much now. Like you know, we got to like bring it back to like, you know, hey, this is what the policy says, and that's it, you know.
But I do feel like every year is getting a little bit better. Like
Absolutely.
I feel like my first year with the accountability, I was just like real nervous to do it. Well, not nervous because I don't have a problem with like doing those things. It was just like I didn't want the staff to hate me either. You know what I mean? Because I was a teacher with them before. Like I had that connection with them. So now that I'm their leader, it's like it's a different thing.
Yeah,
That's
the hard
really,
part.
really tricky. Yeah, that's
That's
tricky.
the hard part.
That's
So
tricky.
Isis, what would you say to your mom?
You don't want to forget.
Oh yeah.
She was going to try to pass over that.
Yeah, no, we got you. We got you.
Listen,
I personally would say giving too much opportunity to family members when it comes to employment, or like, yeah, employment. Just because sometimes the family stuff that the family members would do, if a regular staff member would do it, yeah.
yes, you're absolutely right. So the trickier part that we have too, right, is that we're actually three generations, right? So um so and my mom is still in the business. So there's some things that would affect her also. So it's kind of like this dance, but I agree with you. I agree with you without us going into too much. I absolutely agree with you. I'll say that. Yes. So we're on the same page. I agree. Mhm.
Yeah, you're gonna make it hard for me.
No, it won't.
Cause then everybody will look at me like the bad guy. Cause it ain't gonna be like that.
Yeah.
I love the way that she's looking in
She's
and
like,
out,
yeah.
right? She's looking in already saying, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Yeah.
Mm.
But
Mhm.
you learn from your like your
Right.
parents. You learn from their leadership.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yes, and so same for me. Again, it's so interesting because I have on both sides. I have my mom's 40 years, and I've watched how she led, and I've watched all of these years. We literally have staff members who were with her. We're talking 30 years. So
Mhm.
I've been able to see it. Of course, I came in with my style, and Isis has her style. So it's interesting at times when it's like Isis is like, nope, no. Or I'm saying the same to my mom, like no, but what I think is interesting is when you have your people, meaning my mom again has had staff that long, or she has had people that she's closer to her generation. She has a lot more patience for them.
Mhm.
So I don't. And same, so I think it's all of those things where Isis doesn't have as much patience with family members. I have more, right? So we always play this dance, if you will. But I think what's so key, and this is something we could speak about too. I know I'm always trying to be mindful of the perception that staff have, because
Right.
I never wanted to be this. It's a family thing. I don't want it to be that way, because like Isis said, if you wouldn't accept it from us, then surely they can't walk around and do anything that. Now I'm serious about the culture. You can't affect our culture. We built. It's been too many years of this. This is a legacy here, but you want it to be consistent, and you don't want it to look like someone got the job only because they're a family member, or they're keeping it because they're a family member. So that's the tricky part with this mixing family and business, that I've never really wanted to cross that line, but we have it. And I know for my mom, she wants it. She wants it for the family, for it to be a family business. And I can't say that that's my desire, but we're here. So
It
I
is.
think I'm harsher on family than
No, she really is.
Yeah.
It's
But they be the
harder.
worst.
It's harder because like I used to manage, like my sister was with me at one point, and my cousin, and they're personalities are like the same, like goofy, playing around and stuff. So that was kind of like hard to like deal with for a while because I was like, this is a conflict of interest.
Yes.
Agreed.
We cannot be friends right now.
I
Okay.
love my sister, I love my cousin, but right now I'm your
Yes.
boss.
Yes.
And I used to tell them, I'm taking off my sister hat and I'm putting my director hat on and I'm talking to you as your boss. Stop.
And that's been the struggle. I was telling you that's been the struggle. Like, you know, a lot of times the family don't see me as assistant director. It's like you're always going to be cousin Isis, sister Isis. Like, so it's like kind of a struggle because it's like
But
ain't nobody
before
gonna
I
hear
approach
that.
them, that's exactly what I tell them, just so they know I'm clear. I'm not talking to you as a family member. I'm talking to you as your boss.
You literally change the hat.
Yeah, take the hat off, and I'm putting my boss hat on.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like
it
it.
it takes
I
it takes
have
some time.
I'm sure it all of it, all of this does, right? Like you
Oh
said,
yeah.
Sam, you've been doing this for 3 years. I'm 15 years in at this point. Like all of this takes time and we find our rhythm at some point. And, you know, I'm sure Isis will get to the point where she's, you know, finds her rhythm. Sam, you're going to continue to find your rhythm over the next couple of years. It takes time for sure. So with that, I wanted to share a couple of phrases, that lies in business, especially in childcare. And I wanted to see what you guys' take is on it. I'll give you an example. So the first one is the customer is always right. Do you subscribe to that or no?
Depends on the situation.
Right.
Only because I defend my team at all costs. At all costs.
Right.
So it could be. So I had actually this beginning of the school year. I had an incident with a parent. She was really, really angry. She came into the center yelling at my teacher, and I pulled her. I said, "Hey, mom, can you talk to me in the office real quick?" So she told me what happened or whatever. So we had a conversation, and then when that conversation ended, I said, "Listen, I would appreciate for you to ask for her directive first. Please do not come in here yelling at my teachers unless you speak to me."
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's where, like, I feel like I'm always going to defend my team.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So that's
and hopefully only if they give you the reason to
The
defend
reason
them.
to defend them, right?
Yes.
gotcha. Okay.
She got that from me, guys. She got that from me. Yay!
I am very protective. Like, I'm like a pit bull when it comes to my people.
Yeah.
Got it.
We have to.
Isis, what do you say? Customers always
I
right.
would say the same thing. Like, I would say when it comes to policies, no, they're not always right. But when most of the time they are, especially when it comes to their child, like, you know, you can't really tell a parent they're, you know, wrong. But like Sam said, when it comes to the team, I'm a stick up for them in front of you, but behind closed doors, we'll have our private conversation. So, but yeah, most of the time they are, not all the time. No.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the situation. Like, if a
Right.
parent needs support or something, or like more educational. Like, I know a parent was upset over, I think it was like a curriculum that happened, and I said, okay, so what are your ideas?
Okay.
What do you suggest? You know what I mean? Bring it to the table. Come on, we'll talk about this.
Right.
And we implemented it. But it really depends on what the situation is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about so we had to ask your top staff attribute, meaning you're doing an interview and this potential staff person shows this characteristic or this attribute and you're like, that's the one. What is it?
Oh, vibes.
That's a good one.
Vibes. We have to be able to connect.
Okay.
I have to feel you. I feel your energy. I don't know what it is, but I can feel your energy. If I feel like you're excited to work with me and I'm excited to work with you, we're gonna work because I don't know, it's just a connection. It's like going on a date type of thing.
Yeah.
Important.
Yeah.
It's like going on a date.
I'm gonna say that and honesty. Honesty.
Very transparent.
When
Yeah.
somebody is like straight honest about, you know, stuff they could lie about, like that right there. And like Sam said, vibes. Like, you know, if we can click, then you can click with the kids for sure. So
Okay. All right. What about your pet peeve? What would you
Complainer.
say?
Complainers.
complainer, but not an implementer. Yes, I can't
Complainers.
That's mine.
because because in the censor, a lot of times people get hung up, and we talk about this all the time. Mom. People get hung up on these names, these titles, and it's like if you see an issue and you know you can fix it or you're able to, I need you to fix it and then come and tell me. But it's different when you can't, you're not able to, or whatever the case may be. But somebody that like Sam said, complains a lot, but you're not making any moves to fix it.
Yeah,
Uh-uh.
that frustrates me. It
Nope.
really does. But I'm able to hide it very well because I'm very sarcastic. I think it's my Sagittarius in me because my sarcasm just comes out naturally.
Gosh.
Because they'll come and ask me a question and I ask that same question back and then they'll be like, oh. And I'm like, exactly. Very good.
Before I ask the final question, we could not let this conversation with you ladies, and the fact that we're talking about leadership, we can't let it go without us talking about your experience with the Exceptional Bilingual Leadership Fellowship. So you ladies were in it, you were engaged, involved. What would you say, if you could tell us some of your takeaways and how it made you a better leader, or what were you able to implement in your programs because of the program?
Mm.
I
I,
absolutely loved it. Go ahead, Isis. I
I,
enjoyed
I,
it.
I loved. Of course, I loved it. But the first thing I'm gonna say is it got me my assistant director job. That's just number one. So
Congratulations.
that
Yay!
happened after I got in the program. Yes, ma'am. But it when we talk about sisterhood and really having a safe space to say, like we had a lot of conversations inside that Zoom that nobody will ever speak about and that nobody's ever was ever scared to talk because we knew it was a safe space. Like it was a real sisterhood outside of being able to learn how to be a leader, being able to implement a lot of those things. I was able to make my year marketing for my yearly plan for our family engagement. I was able to
Nice.
do that. Yes. I was able to. I'm getting way better at being able to talk to the parents, as well as the staff members, being more supportive to them and everything like that. So it's been a real help, and I'll be on cohort too.
Yeah. We saw you. We saw you. I was like, wait a minute. This is Isis. She's coming back.
While we were at the graduation, she was like, "So how do I sign up?" I was like, "For you." I was like, "It's for the next cohort." He's like, "No, but I want to be in the again." And I was like,
And the next one.
You can learn other stuff.
Meanwhile, I'm over here telling my mom I want to teach it next time.
Period. Yes.
"So, and did you guys get the update about cohort two? Because that's
You
part of
told
it.
you
That's
told me,
that's part
yeah.
of it. You guys being at, those who go through the cohort, because the thing is so that you, in order to learn how to be a better leader, you have to have an opportunity to lead. So we
Right.
know that you are leading your programs, but how much more stronger of a leader could you be if you are in these spaces of different
Right.
leaders and
Leader.
different levels of
Yeah.
leaders and be a
and
part of
building
leading?
those opportunities, right?
Exactly.
For those of you who don't know, Samantha and I did our first webinar yesterday, and I think it was like day before yesterday or something like that. And I said to her, she was like, "Oh my gosh, is this okay? Is this all right?" And I said, "It's perfect. We're just
Yeah.
gonna release it just like that because
Yep.
practice makes perfect.
Yes.
That's number one, and exposure. You just need to be comfortable in your own skin. Talk about what you're passionate about. Talk about the degree that you have, right? What you've learned. And definitely be out there to become a leader and to become a voice. It's really important, especially in Latinx, communities, right? We hardly see a lot of Hispanic Latin leaders, right, in the ECE space in general. So, that's really important to me to raise my daughter into not only being, a director, my successor, but definitely a voice,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
right? A leader in the ECE community, because becoming a successor is not only necessary in the business aspect, but it's definitely, in that advocacy component as well.
Hmm.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yes.
So,
Awesome.
Sam, what did you gain from the exceptional bilingualship?
So I know, like in my speech, when we had the ceremony, I was saying that I have gained so much within this cohort than I did ever in my master's degree at all.
Mm.
And,
Wow.
and that's, yeah, it's insane to me. It really is. But I feel like my master's, like my whole master's program, it wasn't like how, you could interact with other people. It was basically like my papers were due a certain date, send it in. I had to do discussion boards and do those posts and everything, and I doubled up courses too, so it was like quick. But it wasn't in so much. I couldn't gain so much because there was no really interactions with other people other than the discussion
Mm.
boards. And I don't know. I just felt like with the interactions I gained from the cohort, I gained so much knowledge, and I really like the fact that I could share what I know with others.
Right.
I think that was like my favorite part. That's why I was like, I want to teach
Yeah.
it.
I love it. Listen, the fact that it ignites something, because teaching it could be a little scary sometimes. It's like, oh my goodness. But I agree with you. It kind of gives you this level of motivation, if you will. It's like, I want to share. I want to share. Um, and the space, you're right. The space was so amazing to have so many people that wanted to learn, but also there was no one who was a hoarder of information. Like, no, I'm
Right.
only going to tell you a little bit because I don't want you to have a one. That wasn't it at
Right.
all. It really was, oh, I'll share with you. I'll send you what we do. It was a lot of sharing, which is how we get better. So, I mean, I was saying to Obiama and Damaris earlier, I happened to look at the video and got emotional all over again because you just felt the moment. Right. I was like, it was so many hugs because all of it was virtual.
Right,
It was
right.
Right.
virtual. The fact that we were seeing one another, it was like hugs, and
Yeah.
it was just really an outpouring of love, right? But it was
Yeah.
purpose, right? And I,
And here's another.
I think, did we lose her, or is it just me?
no, I can't hear it. Damaris, can you hear us?
Fellowships and a lot of other cohorts. I probably lost you guys.
There you go.
Sorry.
We can hear you now. Go ahead.
You're back.
Oh, I'm back. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi. The mental health component. We have
Mhm.
so many different
Oh,
cohorts out there. We have so many trainings, so many people doing these, small business practices or whatever. And there's no mental health there connections, right? And through our cohort, we had some really magical moments where we really were supporting some real
Yes.
life things happening
Yeah.
just to make sure that everybody was pulling through. So I think that was a very magical thing that I saw happening, and that we should both share the sentiment with that video this morning. Um, that probably we will only know because it was private, but it was just amazing to see everyone there.
And we were celebrating each other.
yes,
Yes.
Yes.
We
Yes.
truly.
were. Every goal, accomplishment that we had every week, we always celebrated each other.
Yeah.
Agreed. And it was one of those, didn't want it to end, and what can we do next?
Yeah.
And so we
Yeah.
really did have to put something together. So for the first cohort, we had to like put something together for them because they weren't ready to let go. So it was like, okay, what do we have for them though? To continue on when you have someone who has a desire to continue learning, it's like, how do you deny anyone of that? And not only that,
Absolutely.
I think because this is what we wanted to do. We wanted to pour into other people. We got poured into as well, because it's not like we're not continuously learning either. But to hear that you guys wanted it it was like, oh my goodness. I think for us, we came to the realization that we really, I wouldn't say pulled it off because we already knew that what we were going to offer because we're living it and we've done it in our programs. We knew it was valuable, but it was a different level of impact that, we couldn't have planned the mental health support or the fact that there would be great
Right.
connections the way that they were. We didn't know all of those things would happen. It was like people were lifing, meaning life was happening in real time. And I think
Exactly.
what we also allowed was leaders to see how leaders lead when people are having real life experiences happen. And that's what happens in our programs. So how can you respond? We literally were able to show this is what it looks like. And this is how you give grace to other people. So
Absolutely. Aaliyah, and I want to say, like, there was a learning curve even for me, right? And I was part of the instructors. I was really excited and happy. I was really nervous about uh, having the opportunity to, show what I knew in money management, because everybody knows I'm all about money management and marketing and everything is kind of my strengths. They are my strengths. And bringing that to the cohort, I was like, okay, how do I do this? How do I really connect? How do I do this? And once I started hearing the feedbacks,
yes,
right? With everyone that was in the cohort, such positive feedback of like, we want more, we want more, we want more. It just was like, it just really connected and saying, I did it right. Okay, let's
Mhm.
go. So I
absolutely.
was kind of like second guessing myself, which is pretty odd, because I really wanted to make sure that it was very intentional.
Yes.
To me, it was magical and a learning experience too, and just a push to give more.
You're right. And now that you say that, I think that's two takeaways. One, you really did get to feel the win in the moment, right? Like you said,
Mhm.
Right.
I put all of this together. Is it working? You got to find out about the win in the moment, and that way, again, that motivates you to, all right, let me pour into it a little more. The other thing is we did not have this structure that, I know sometimes college courses and stuff, no, this is the curriculum, this is the syllabus, and that's that. We had exit surveys after each one, and we read them. I want you guys to know we sat and we went through all of them. We got the feedback. They were anonymous, but we literally took that information so that we could apply it to the next meeting, because
Mhm.
we wanted to respond based on what it is that you guys needed. Even when we had a whole plan for the session, if we got in there and someone was having a moment or you guys really were reacting to a particular topic, we stayed on that
Your
topic.
your turn. Yep.
We
Yep.
pivoted in that. It was like, oh, okay. You guys told us y'all wanted more time in the breakout rooms. We were like, well,
And we had a good time in them breakout rooms. They
We
was
did.
they was the best.
You brought me out of my comfort zone, like, because I was shy at
Yes.
first. I think I was in the
Me and
breakout chat
Sam
with
had
you.
each other like the
Yeah,
first couple times, and we both was all scared, but
we
we
were
was
like so
like,
shy.
maybe it was strategic. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe, maybe.
Found out that we were both each other, like
mm.
both each other's moms were in here, so we were like, oh, okay, I see what they did here.
Well, that was something also. It was strategic, right? It was done strategically because you know you're in a room where your instructors are your moms, not only your moms, your bosses. So we wanted to provide you guys again that safe space, and that's the reason why we stopped and intentionally said, I think we did a speech about, in this cohort, we are your instructors, but we are, we want you guys to really make sure that you understand that this is your time. This is your space. So whatever, set is said here is stayed here, and that's it.
Right.
No, so that was really important too, to open up the door and the stage for that. So
It
it's
definitely
pretty
took
cool.
me some time to do that because my mom had to get my feedback out of me. And I was like, well, I don't want to seem like a mean person. And she was like, no, tell me what it is. And I was like, well, do you want the honest truth? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, well,
Well, we need that, right? We need
Yeah.
constructive criticism,
Mhm.
Yes.
right?
Yep.
We definitely need constructive criticism. All right, Ali, I think we are running out in Dr. Biamer's words.
Yeah.
You might want to
Out
close
of
this out.
time.
Yes. So thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the Impact Podcast. Thank you so much, Sam and
Thank you
Isis,
for
for
having
joining
us.
us. Yes.
We'll have to be back.
It
Oh,
was great to see you guys. It was great for you
absolutely.
guys joining us. Thank you so much.
We appreciate it. And for all of you who are viewing, definitely share with us any takeaways that you may have had, as well as, any other generational leaders or business owners out there who, maybe your first generation, second, third, or, it doesn't even have to be your daughter or son, but all of us really need to be thinking about our successors. So, the conversation that we had today applies all the same. I'm always looking at who is going to be a successor, even an assistant teacher going to a teacher position. So,
And
all of this.
maybe in the future, guys, 2023, maybe there'll be a generational successor cohort.
Mm.
Ooh.
Think about that.
I smell money, Miss Money Management.
Listen, but because you cannot tell, it's so many generational businesses out here. It's so many.
Yeah,
There's
Yeah.
definitely, and so I
that's
think
the
there
good
is a
one.
huge need for that connection,
I
partnerships,
agree.
right? Fellowships.
Mm.
So stay tuned. Stay tuned from
Stay
some
tuned.
other powerful and impactful stuff that's going to be happening pretty soon. So
Yes, there
I'm
to lead and meet the need.
I'm
That's
looking for a successor for my director's position.
listen.
Yes, because your daughter not old enough.
We're talking about cultivating, right? We're talking about cultivating. So again, thank you for joining us. We loved you joining us, and again, share your feedback. And until next time, we'll see you on the Impact Podcast. Have a good night.
bye.
Thank you. Good
Bye.
night.
Bye, ladies.